The grey man does whatever a grey man can. Can he make a comic feed? Yes, he can. He just did. Watch now, a video from Grey Man. A video from Grey Man.
Oh, hi there. It's me again, the Grey Man. How are you all? I hope you're all well. Right, now, are you sitting comfortably? Because I'm going to talk to you about my imagination, things in my brain. Basically, everyone's friend, NightTiger, has a new competition where he has a stack of comics that fat. A stack of comics so fat you could bludgeon a whale to death with it. It's fatter than my head, this stack of comics, and I've got a fat head. So yeah, it's a competition basically. He wants you to use your imaginations, the power of your mind, and come up with a superhero or supervillain of your own devising. So yeah, that's the kind of thing I dig, man. Well, what it is, back in the day, I used to do role-playing games all the time, and Villains and Vigilantes was my main game. Love this game. I've even printed this up as a t-shirt. You might have seen it in my other videos. I actually did a video all about Villains and Vigilantes, which got about 5 views. So I'm going to put a little link to that at the end of this video. So please watch it. It deserves more views, just because it's an awesome game. And I've got all the, well, many of the companion books that came with it. Most Wanted, Super Crooks, is that? Super Crooks and Criminals. To Tackle the Totem. Terror by Night. The Pentacle Plot. The Dawn of DNA. Devil's Domain. The Crisis at Crusader Citadel. Now, you might have actually seen this as a comic book. There was a 4-part comic book based on this module. Yeah. The Crushers have taken over Crusader Citadel. Opponents Unlimited. So lots of these are just, I've got like made up characters that you can use, but I like to invent my own. And boy did I invent my own. Let's go through all these books first. Dr. Apocalypse, Force, Most Wanted again. That's the original box that it came in. This is what, so I used to be the games master, which means that I would play, like I'd make up the scenarios, I'd make up the stories that everyone had to deal with, and I'd have all my players, they had their own characters, and I had another friend who also liked to games master it as well, so I'd play in his game as a player. This was one of my characters in his game. He was called the Reckoner. He was kind of like a Punisher kind of thing, but he had sort of heightened senses. That was his main power. He had heightened senses where he could judge everything. Like, so you could know the distance from here, everything they look at. He'll know that person weighs so and so in weight, and you know, you could just really assess things really easily with his sort of super duper heightened senses. So that's why he was called the Reckoner. Also, he could say, "It's time for a reckoning." Yeah, because it's cheesy, but so what. And so when it comes to creating characters, these were the ones, some of these I've got like from the books that you saw, the Most Wanted and that kind of thing. I put those into here as well because I like to beef them up a little bit because they were quite weak in the books. My characters were quite tough. They've all got high statistics and that, and so I wanted to beef up the game a bit more, so I sort of adapted them a bit. But anyway, most of these, if you look through, this is, every single page of this are mostly characters that I created for the game. So there's about, I think there's about 80 pages, 88 pages in these. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, this has got less pages, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So with some of them have got less pages, and so I'd say there's probably about 800, rough guess, 800 characters here, most of whom I created myself. Most of them, quite a lot of them actually, when it comes to names, I'd name them after heavy metal bands, because obviously I'm a headbanger. So let's have a quick look through. They've got, like here's European villains, female. European villains, female. Let's go to a random page. We've got Panther and Blackface, strange names. Minstrel and Tigress. Sneak Thief and Timberwolf. Might have stolen the name of that last one. Weaver and Influencer. That's just a couple of random ones. Well, let's go to the US of A and see what a couple we've got there. Nuklon and Power Mad. Nuklon's a member of the Superior Force. Siriandor and Ben, those were actually characters created in the game books, not by myself. The actual character Ben was killed by one of my girlfriend at the time. She had a character called the Accuser. Anyway, Chevrolet. Got a character called Chevrolet and a character called Bayou, the old swamp people. Dr. No and Rocket Man. Subway Surfer and Scrawler. They were members of the Dude Crew because, yeah, I'm not very cool. Right, so so basically lots of characters. My main character, I'll show you some pictures of my main character later on. That was my main NPC because I didn't actually play him. But what it was, the idea of the Vigilantes, you were supposed to play as yourself, but haven't got superpowers. So you kind of have to assess your own statistics. You assess how strong you are. You say, I'm not super strong. I'll give myself a 12 or something like that. Or if you're a really strong person, I'll give myself an 18. So and then you roll statistics. So my little sister had a character. She was the elementalist because she had like gravity powers and fire powers and wind power, that kind of thing. She controlled the elements, so she was the elementalist. My little brother Stuart had a number of different characters. I think Mindwing was one of his characters. He looked a bit like the Gargoyle, actually. And yeah, I think he had mind control powers. And he had other characters as well, because and then my cousin Amos, he used to love loads of games. He had loads of characters. Protac. Bit of a weird name, Protac. Titan was one of his as well, I think. And what, Beast Boy or something? Beast Man, something like that. He controlled the animals, basically. Anyway, so... but my main character, who was supposed to be me, Graham Fraser, I actually mentioned this on the comment on NightTiger's initial video, but I was walking down the road, one day. I was at school at the time, so I was just walking down the road, and there was a fight up in the sky. The alien protector was battling against his nemesis. I don't know if I actually named the nemesis, actually. I was saying in the comment that I couldn't remember his name. I don't think I actually gave him a name. But anyway, he was mortally wounded, and he came careening down out of the sky and smashed, landing on top of the bus shelter, which is a real bus shelter down the road, which I catch a bus from quite often. And he's lying there on top of his arm, sort of hanging over the top of the bus shelter, and he's like reaching out for me, and I've sort of grabbed his hand to sort of say, you'll be okay, I'll get an ambulance or whatever. And as he was doing that, basically his energy flowed into me, and I got all of his superpowers, his strength and his light powers that was able to make illusions and that kind of thing, and I was called Photon! Yeah. I'll show you some pictures of Photon, because someone actually drew some, a friend of a friend, he drew some photos of what Photon looks like, kind of thing. I'll show you those at the end of the video. But anyway, I've got to come up with a new character, because that's only fair. And first of all, I was thinking, for some reason, Mob. Just Mob or Mob Justice. It was someone with psionic and empathic powers who was able to sort of go into the minds of people who feel they've got a grievance of some sort, and he would get so say for example, I don't know, he's walking past a tower block, an apartment block, and all the people inside hate their landlord because he's a right arsehole. So somehow he'll get, or he or she, I didn't decide what sex they were, they would get the empathic and psionic sort of power of all these people and sort of basically become a mob. But a one-person mob, but powered by all these people. So all these people would go into like a trance, and their hatred and anger and their strength would all go into Mob, and he would go and dish out punishment. So it was kind of an interesting character. I could imagine a lot of things would happen to him along the way. He wouldn't always necessarily be good. There might be some he might be influenced by some hateful people. Just because they hate doesn't necessarily has to be righteous hatred or righteous, so it could just be someone who feels injustice. It wouldn't have to be more than, it could be one person, could be like a group. But anyway, that's the kind of thought that I had. And then I thought, for some reason I thought Dandelion. I was picturing a lion dressed up in a suit, and he's a dandy, yeah, he's the dandelion. But yeah, I don't know, these are just little things I was thinking of. And finally I settled on this one. I'm not sure if it's been done before. It probably has done, actually. A Russian superhero called Matryoshka, which is, the little dolls that all plug into each other, one after the other. So this woman's name is Alexandra Pipich. That's actually the name of one of my Patreons, so I thought I'd use her name because she's Russian. I haven't got any inventor name. So Alexandra Pipich is Matryoshka, and she can split herself into 5 progressively smaller versions of herself, and you know, like the nesting dolls. And each one of those different ones has a different power. So as normal keep calling her Natasha. As normal Alexandra, she has no powers. She's just normal. But she splits, and another one pops out smaller than herself, and that one's got fire powers. And if you need, and then another, that little one can just split up, and out from her comes another one of the dolls of her with ice powers, and that one can split up, and that one's got super strength, even though it's like, I don't know, probably 3 foot tall by now. I don't know what we got. That's 4. I think. So look, say for example she's 5'5", then one could be 4'5", then 3'5", then 2'5", another one at 1.5 feet, and that one can have what can that one have? Let me think. That one can fly and has super speed. Why not? Fly and have super speed. So it's more of a getting out there and finding things. And the other one is tiny. The little tiny one inside. And that one's like the spy. That one can become invisible as well. And also non-corporeal, so it can walk through walls. That kind of thing. So that's like a little. So that's it. That's Matryoshka is her name. Alexandra Pipich, aka. I think actually there's a little pronunciation thing on there. Let's listen to the proper pronunciation of that word.
Matryoshka.
Matryoshka. There you go. So she's Matryoshka, and yeah, that is her. She's a good guy, because it's too cliche to have Russians being evil spies. So she's a super agent. She's a you know, a boon to her nation, basically. So that's it. That's my entry for NightTiger's competition. Have you got the brain power to think up a character? Then enter his competition and see if you can win a big fat pile of comics. And yeah, good luck. But hopefully I win. Okay, so there's Photon. Basically army trousers and boots and a silver top. Covers his face. Got a photon burst there in the middle of his chest. And these gadgets, basically, you roll up the powers randomly, and it said that he had a gadget which was an actual weaponry gadget. So I made it claws, because, you know, not much else you can do for that. But they weren't super sharp. I didn't want to be cutting people over like Wolverine does all the time. You're more like a bludgeoning sort of. They probably obviously do you damage because they're like, but they're not pointed so much. And they've got a little edge on them, so we can use them for swinging from stuff as well. There's another picture of him there that a guy did for me. But that bleeding, yeah, it wasn't the purpose of the claws, to cut people open. Because what kind of psycho goes around cutting people up with their claws? Oh yeah, him.